The weight of oranges. The late afternoon sun hung low over the quiet suburban streets of Houston, Texas, casting long golden streaks through trees that lined the sidewalks. Inside Greenway Market, the air was cool, the humming of refrigeration units blending with the quiet murmur of voices and the rhythmic beeping of barcode scanners. It was a regular Tuesday. Nothing special. People moved between aisles with carts filled with produce, cereal, and coupons, going through the ritual of shopping like a choreographed dance. Among them was Lenny Walker, AT-64. Lenny didn't stand out to most people. He wasn't flashy. His clothing was simple, an old, olive army jacket that had seen better decades, a gray button-up shirt, and jeans that had faded from use. But those who looked close would notice details that told another story. The faint but unmistakable insignia on his sleeve. The way he moved, not rushed, but efficient, steady, measured. The way he scanned his surroundings without seeming to. Lenny had the kind of presence you only noticed if you understood it. Not loud, not brash. Just a quiet, commanding stillness. A stillness earned from living through too much. His grocery cart wasn't full. Some canned beans, milk, bread, rice, a head of lettuce, and now he was reaching for a mesh bag of oranges. His hand closed gently around it, lifting it from the display with the same care a man might use to disarm a mine. He didn't look rushed. Shopping was just another task on his list, another mission to complete. Then, a voice, loud enough to cut through the air, cracked across the produce section like a dry branch snapping in half. People like you don't belong here. It came from a man standing a few feet away, mid-30s, clean-cut, broad-shouldered, dressed in a navy blue polo and khaki slacks, with the kind of posture that said, "I'm used to being obeyed." His name was Officer Greg Mullins, and although he wasn't in uniform, the badge clipped to his belt was partially visible beneath his shirt. Lenny didn't look at him right away. His hand tightened slightly around the oranges. The bag crinkled in his grasp. Around him, the quiet rustle of shopping carts and idle conversation slowed. Shoppers froze in the way people do when something offensive happens in public, but no one knows what to do. A young mother steered her toddler in a plastic car-shaped cartaway toward the dairy aisle. A stock boy paused with a bunch of bananas still in hand, unsure of whether to keep working or pretend he hadn't heard. A man near the bread shelf stopped mid-scroll on his phone. Everyone had heard it, but no one said a word. Lenny stood still, shoulders square, posture straight. And when he finally turned to face Mullins, there was no anger in his eyes. Only something older, heavier. A look that said he'd been here before. Too many times. Greg's expression was tight-lipped. He didn't shout. He didn't raise his hands or curse. He said it like someone announcing the time. Matter of fact. Like the kind of man who believed the store was his territory, and Lenny was a trespasser. Lenny inhaled slowly, letting the weight of silence settle before he spoke. "You know," he said, voice steady, low, but somehow carrying through the aisle. "I've heard those words before." Greg's jaw twitched, but he said nothing. "I heard them in '68. I was 19. Came back from Vietnam with shrapnel in my shoulder and malaria in my blood. Saved a man's life overseas. Came home and got told I couldn't sit at the same lunch counter as the man I'd carried out of a jungle." The stock boy's eyes widened slightly. The cashier near the self-checkout froze with a carton of eggs in hand. Lenny's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. There was strength in the restraint. "I heard them in '75 when I applied for a job I was overqualified for, and a man like you got hired instead because he had lighter skin and the right last name." Greg shifted, just a little. A foot repositioned. "I heard them when I went to buy my first house, and the realtor told me the neighborhood wasn't a good fit. When I tried to vote and got told the polling place lost my registration. When I walked down the street at night, and someone clutched their purse like I was a criminal." Lenny paused. "Hell, I even heard them from men I fought beside. Men I'd have taken a bullet for." Now the aisle was silent. Even the scanners had stopped beeping, or maybe it only felt that way. The entire store had grown still, like the air had thickened around them. Greg's face flushed slightly. His arms, which had been crossed, dropped to his sides. But his expression remained unreadable. "So when you say that to me," Lenny continued, "today, in this store, in front of these people. What exactly do you think you're telling me that I haven't already heard? He stepped forward, not in aggression, but in assertion. One foot, then the next, never breaking eye contact. You think your words are new? You think they carry power? Greg's lips parted slightly, but no sound came out. I'll tell you what carries weight, Lenny said, carrying a rifle through rice paddies, wondering if I'd see the sun the next day. Watching friends come home in body bags and getting their names left off the memorial wall. Fighting for a flag that waved over buildings I still wasn't allowed to enter. He paused, letting the silence breathe, and still I stayed. Still I served. Still I built a life. Paid my taxes. Raised 2 kids. Sent them to college. Voted. Served on the school board. Attended church every Sunday. Lived with dignity. Earned respect. Greg looked away. Just briefly. But Lenny saw it. A crack in the armor. So when you look at me, a man who's outlived more storms than you can imagine, and you tell me I don't belong, know that you're not saying anything I haven't already survived. The cashier's hands were trembling now as she scanned a box of cereal for another customer. Lenny slowly placed the oranges into his cart. There was a finality in the movement. Not anger, not defeat, just calm resolution. He looked back at Greg, his eyes softening, just a touch. And more than that, he said, you're not just wrong. You're tired. That mindset, those words, they're old, worn out, and they don't work the way they used to. Lenny turned his cart. The rubber wheels squeaked slightly against the polished tile. He didn't rush. His steps were the same deliberate, steady pace they'd always been. He passed the woman with the toddler, who now looked up at him with something that might have been shame. He passed the man with the phone, who lowered it entirely now. The stock boy stood straighter, watching him as he rolled by. When he reached checkout lane 4, the young cashier tried to compose herself. She scanned his items in silence, each beep louder than usual. Finally, after the last item went into the paper bag, she spoke. That was something, sir. Lenny looked up, eyes meeting hers. I've never seen anyone handle something like that, she added, voice just above a whisper. He nodded. Sometimes, grace is the only thing that cuts through. She swallowed hard. I wish more people understood that. He didn't answer, just took the bag, thanked her quietly, and began walking toward the exit. But the story didn't end there. He heard the footsteps before he saw the man, slow, hesitant, uncertain. Wait, Greg called out. Lenny didn't stop immediately. He took another step, then slowly turned as the automatic doors opened, and the fading orange sun bathed the floor behind him. Greg stood there, arms no longer crossed, posture no longer dominant. I didn't mean, he began, but the words trailed off. He looked at Lenny like a man who'd just realized he didn't know himself as well as he thought. You said something back there, he continued. About weight. About what carries it. He swallowed hard. I guess I never thought about it that way. Lenny didn't nod, didn't give him an easy out. He let the moment hang. It's not about whether you thought about it before, he said quietly. It's about what you do with it now. Greg's face twitched with emotion. Not quite regret. Not yet. But maybe recognition. A seed planted. He nodded. Just once. Slowly. Lenny turned and walked out into the evening air. The sky was painted with soft pinks and fading golds. The breeze was gentle. A car rolled by in the distance. Someone across the street walked a dog. The world kept spinning. But inside that market, something had shifted. Lenny didn't need to look back, that he didn't need to win, he just needed to speak. Because once truth is spoken, it doesn't go back to sleep. It waits. It lingers. It changes the air. And sometimes, that's all it takes.